Left. Face.
I will always put them.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Magdalinskis. I serve as Assistant Principal and Athletic Director here at Neshaminy High School. We'd like to begin today's program with a selection from the members of our choir under the direction of Mrs. Kristen Nichols. Ladies and gentlemen, our friends from the American Legion have joined us. Now please rise for the singing of our national.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is a tradition that started here at Neshaminy High School 7 years ago. Each year it continues to be a very special event here at the school, and it comes at a time when we're honoring our students. We're honoring our students for their accomplishments at Neshaminy High School in athletics, on the stage. We're honoring them for their future plans, preparing for graduation, and many of the festivities that come with the arrival of the summer season. Today, we get a chance to say hello to and to thank a very unique students. This is a group that may have put college on hold, that may have put joining the workforce on hold for the honor to serve our great nation. What was their motivation? I'm sure it varies with each individual. Maybe a member of the family served. Maybe a suggestion from a trusted teacher or counselor. Maybe just watching the evening news and a desire to make the world a better place. Again, the stories, I'm sure, are different in each individual case. But one thing for certain, after witnessing the recruiting process for several years here at Neshaminy, I can only tell you this decision was not made lightly or without thought and without support from family members. Over the past 7 years, dozens of administrators, teachers, and counselors here at Neshaminy High School have attended a workshop at Paris Island. It's safe to say that we all returned with a much deeper appreciation of what lies ahead for these young men in the weeks, months, and years ahead. Simply put, that visit that began 7 years ago is where this ceremony was born and where it continues today. The ceremony is our school's way, our community's way of saying thank you. You're about to embark on a journey filled with sacrifice, hard work, and the concept of working towards a greater good. And you will play a role in helping to keep our great nation safe. This is an awesome responsibility. It's my hope that your time here at Neshaminy High School has played a part in preparing you for what lies ahead. In closing, let me be the first today to say thank you. May God bless you, and may God guide you. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the Acting Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Gloria Hancock, with a few comments.
Thank you, Mr. Magdalinkas. Good afternoon, and thank you to the Select Choir for that wonderful song. I would like to welcome each of you to our ceremony today and our esteemed guests from the Army, the Navy, the Marines, Representative Farry, who is always with us, also Mr. Gibbons from Senator Tomlinson's office, who is always with us, all of you proud parents and family members, representatives from the media, students, and of course, the subject of the ceremony, these fine 10 young gentlemen who are sitting before you today that will be proudly serving our country once they leave Neshaminy High School for the last time next month. I would also like to thank Dr. McGee and Mr. Magdalinkas for putting this ceremony together each year. It gives us the opportunity to let you know that even though, gentlemen, you will probably be traveling very far away from here during your service, you always have the support and the gratitude of everybody back here at Neshaminy, no matter where you end up. I'm very proud to come from a military family. My stepfather, my father-in-law, my uncles, cousins, and nieces have all served in the branches of the military. But more importantly, I'm very proud to say that I am a mom of a naval veteran. You see, my son committed himself to the service in 2000. To you parents, you all look great. You're holding up really well. I did that too until the day that the recruiter drove up to my home, put my son in the car, drove away, and I saw that little face turn around back at me, and I completely lost it on the front lawn. But hopefully you'll keep holding up really good as you're doing today. Gentlemen, again, my son decided to commit himself to serving his country as well, right after high school, and I couldn't be prouder. I grew up learning about the traditions of military service and the core values that they represent. Let me just reiterate some of them. Responsibility for self and others. Integrity, doing the right thing all the time in the right circumstances. Honor, never breaking that oath or that promise. Strength, to carry on even though times may be difficult sometimes. Courage, being able to stand up in the face of adversity. Camaraderie, getting to know your mates that will continue on with you. Loyalty to service over self. You will soon be part of those traditions and called upon to uphold these values in everything you do. I can't think of a greater calling than to be of service. It takes a lot of grit, determination, dedication, and commitment to do so. I am confident that you have everything that it takes. I wish you and your loved ones all the best as you embark on this important journey, and God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. And now, a word or two from a true friend of Neshaminy High School, a gentleman that you'll see in the hallway quite often throughout the course of the school year and over the course of the summer, State Representative Frank Farry.
Before my statements, I'm going to turn it over to David Gibbons, who is representing Senator Tomlinson. Senator Tomlinson is at a scholarship event, which I just left to come here, but David is here to represent him, and the Senator passes along his well wishes to these 10 fine young men. David?
Good afternoon. Like Representative Ferry said, Senator Tomlinson has sent me to convey three main messages. Number one, his apologies for not being here. Number two, his congratulations to the family, friends, educators of these fine young men for doing such a great job. And three, his thanks to you 10 here up at the front table. He wants to say thank you for committing to serve your country. And I'll briefly just say, it was not that long ago that I was in your shoes. And if I could offer just one piece of advice going forward, I would say this. The training you're about to undergo is intended to help you find your failure points physically and mentally. When you reach that point, and you will because the instructors are extremely good at helping you find that point, remember why you're doing this, and that answer is directly in front of you here today, and the flag which is directly behind you today. And then also keep in mind that recruit training is the easiest part of the Marine Corps. So keep that in mind. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and God bless you.
To the men and women in the audience that have served or continue to serve, on behalf of a grateful community, I want to thank you for your service, both past, present, and obviously we have some folks here who will be serving in the future. Additionally, to the moms and dads, siblings, grandparents that are in attendance today, thank you for raising these fine young men, because they would not have qualified or been eligible to actually serve our country if they didn't have that great parenting and great home life. So thank you for. Before I get to recognize young men, I actually have two guests here that reside in Langhorne, not far away from the high school here, that I want to tell you their stories, because their stories of serving our country are slightly different than yours. The first is Rich McCune, who is over to the left here. Rich was attending Penn State when he got drafted to serve in the Vietnam War. He served our country with distinction, combat veteran, Marine Corps. And I came to meet Rich because his son Matt, who graduated from Neshaminy, joined the local volunteer fire department. Matt and I became fast friends, and Matt is in his 13th year now serving the country? Yes, sir. He's in his 13th year serving the country. So we have somebody who ended up serving our country and serving in combat through different means, not by choice, but by being drafted. The second individual is Dr. Oline. Can you stand up, doctor? Likewise, I came to meet the doctor through his joining of the volunteer fire department, which he joined within the last year and just finished his firefight, so he continues to serve our community. Stories. As we have had these ongoing wars over the last decade plus, the doctor has a successful cardiology practice here in our community, and when he found out there was a need for medical personnel to serve our military, he joined the military at that point. And in joining the military, he ended up serving in a forward operating base in Iraq, trying to mend together our injured and fallen soldiers. So Dr. and Mr. McCune, I want to thank you for your service, your son's continued service, but there's two different paths to the military. They didn't join coming out of high school. One didn't join necessarily by choice. But they served our country both in combat and in very dangerous situations, and they're both residents of our community. And I just thought their story was an important story to tell because it is slightly different, but one of the great parts of their story is they both came back home, and they're both residing in our community and giving back in different ways. Can we get for both of these gentlemen? Now to our 10 folks here. Some of you I know, some of you I know your parents, and some I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet. But the choice you're making is a very challenging and difficult decision, but a very brave one at that. When I graduated from Neshaminy, it was a time of peace, and within roughly 8 months, we were in the Persian Gulf conflict. That was a much different time. The men and women I graduated with that went on to military service thought they were going to serve in peacetime, and it rapidly turned into wartime. You know where you're going to serve. On behalf of our community, I want to thank you for that choice of service. We appreciate it, and we greatly wish to have you come back to our community happy and healthy, and please continue doing what you do, because if the men and women of our communities weren't signing up to do this, we'd be in a much different place. So God bless you, and we have presentations from both the State House and the State Senate. I'll read one generally. This is Tyler's. But this one reads, whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania is always pleased to recognize those individuals who through their hard work and outstanding achievement bring great distinction upon themselves and their communities. And whereas, this is Tyler's, Tyler Marks is committed to pursuing a career in the military with the U.S. Marine Corps, and now therefore the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with great thanks and congratulates Tyler Marks upon his commitment to serve our country and offers best wishes for every future success and happiness. So we have a likewise statement from the Senate. So if we can each ask each young man to come up as your name's called, and we'll present these to you. So Tyler. Congratulations. Thank you. Bartholomew. Joshua. Christopher. Next one's a little special. Parker is not only going on to West Point, but he also serves our community as one of your local volunteer firefighters. Matthew. Colin? Colin not here, okay. Brian? Devin? Zachary? Just take a little time before that bell rings. And last but not least, Brandon. So, gentlemen, as I said, we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. Best of luck as you continue in your military career. And again, on behalf of our community, we thank you for your choice of service.
We have a few more speakers to go, actually 4. Some will be rather brief and some might go into a little bit more detail. So we'd like to continue the ceremony with Staff Sergeant Jedediah Cuck from the United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant.
Good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here again. It's my second year in a row doing this ceremony. And I'd just like to say the staff here at Neshaminy, it's really amazing that you guys put this on. It's something unique. I haven't seen done in any other high school. So it's great to acknowledge the dedication here. So I was just talking to somebody, taking some notes, I think, for a news story later on, and they asked me how often I'm in the school. And sometimes I don't realize it, even though my boss yells at me sometimes about how often I'm in Neshaminy. It's such a welcoming place and some really incredible students. I'm here 2, 3, 4 days a week sometimes. There's so many great students to talk with. And one of the things I really enjoy in the time I've been here is for each of the students you see here that are joining the armed forces, that have already committed to that, there are dozens more that I myself get to sit down and talk with throughout the year. Not all of them are going to join the Marines. Not all of them are going to join the military. But once they graduate, they move on. It's kind of a big, brand new world out there. And there are a lot of twists and turns. And kind of that first thing is figuring out what you're going to do and how to get there. Like I said, for some that's military, for some it's college, for some it's joining the workforce. what I enjoy most about my job is getting to spend time sitting down with as many students as possible and helping them talk through figuring out, one, what they want to do and how they can get there, whether that has anything to do with the military or not. And having the privilege to be in the school as much as I am and talk with that many students really enriches my every day. So thank you to the school, and for those that are joining, congratulations, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Neshaminy's done such a great job preparing you. It was really difficult to find something to give you to help you out on your journeys to come. So I came up with a little something. Everybody knows that the Marines are known for being in good shape, so we go to the gym a lot. So we got some gym bags to take along. And if you're going to be working out that much, hydration is key. And for all those twists and turns, dark nights, when things aren't certain, get your flashlight. All right, so congratulations. It's been great watching you develop, and I can't wait to see how you become Marines.
And now from the United States Army, Staff Sergeant Gary Pascal.
Way to make me look bad. See, they already got their free goodies, so. All right, the reason why I had these guys come in, enter the way I did, is because what they spit off was the warrior ethos. That's what we as soldiers, we live by. We also live by 7 Army values: leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. When these young men and women enter our branch, that is exactly what we drill in their heads. Because that makes you a better man and woman, a better father, a better mother, and a better husband and wife and true best friend. First and foremost, I want to thank the educators, the parents. Most people think that we, as soldiers, Marines, Airmen, Navy, Coast Guard, they think we are the first line of defense. You guys are really the first line of defense. Because if you guys didn't do your job right, they would never make it the light of day to see us, so we can turn them into men and women, educators of our community, all right, our nation. I want to thank Neshaminy High School. I'm always up in here too. They're very supportive, okay? I want to give thanks to the families again for taking the time to hear what we have to talk about, to educate you, your children. I want to thank our future soldiers and the other enlistees. All right, you guys are less than 1% of the American population that is willing to do this, that is qualified to do this, or that wants to do this, okay? These are the next leaders of our society. Thank you.
And we do have 2 more speakers, but I'd like to introduce the new recruits, or soon-to-be recruits. Beginning from the far right, United States Marine Corps, Tyler Marks. United States Marine Corps, Bartholomew Mashuli. United States Marine Corps, Joshua Taylor. United States Marine Corps, Christopher Wojner. West Point Military Academy, Parker Minotti. United States Army, Matthew Bush. United States Army, Colin McClurg. United States Army, Ryan McLaughlin. United States Army, Devin Velasquez. United States Army, Zachary Giberson. And last but not least, United States Army, Brandon Knest. And now we'd like to continue on. We have a speaker from the faculty of Neshaminy High School, a veteran of the United States Navy, Lieutenant Supply Corps, U.S. Navy retired. Please welcome Gary Warlow.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, and inductees. In John F. Kennedy's 1960 inaugural address, he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." It does my heart good to see these fine young men seated here before us, willing to dedicate a portion of their lives in service to our country, and to see all of you here honoring their courage and devotion. In the not too distant future, you will be standing before a commissioned officer in the United States military, and you will be asked to repeat the following. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. Before you raise your right hand, make sure you understand what you are swearing or attesting to. The oath of enlistment should not be taken lightly. You will be bound by it for 4 to 6 years at a minimum. After you serve, you will officially become a veteran. Two startling statistics about our veteran community. Less than 0.5% of the current population of the United States is serving on active duty. Less than 8% of the population of the United States has ever served on active duty. I have a good friend of mine who's a retired brigadier general, 2 tours in Vietnam, 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and he says the military is not a democracy, it just defends one. That whole Uniform Code of Military Justice, that's the "it's not a democracy" part, it just defends one. You'll become acutely acquainted with that document. How many veterans do we have here with us today? Raise your hands, please. I'm going to start with World War II, but it doesn't look like anybody. World War II, no. Korean conflict? No. Vietnam? Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Gulf War? What a powerful obligation you are taking on. Do you realize that from 1940 to 1973, this country had conscription? Men were drafted into the military to fill vacancies. How many of you were drafted? Wow. Yeah, that's getting fewer and fewer. For the past 43 years, we've had an all-volunteer force. If you'll indulge me, just a real quick biography. I enlisted in the Navy in 1972. I attended boot camp in Orlando, Florida, for which I've already taken flack from one of my Navy friends over there. He said, "You didn't get to endure the cold in Great Lakes." No, I didn't. I was smarter than that. I went to Navy Cryptologic A School in Pensacola, Florida, Seoul, South Korea for a year working with the NSA, 2 years in Sink-Pack Fleet, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. It was ugly duty, but somebody had to do it. I went to college and decided I liked the Navy enough that I was going back in, and they saw fit to send me back to Sink-Pack Fleet, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Officer Candidate School in 1982, followed by the Navy Supply Corps School in Athens, Georgia. I was on the USS W.S. Sims out of Mayport, Florida. We did tours in the Caribbean. We did tours in the Med. We were all over the eastern part of the United States. I ran the Navy Exchange and Commissary in Lakehurst, New Jersey. I was the supply officer on the USS Clark out of Philadelphia. I was the Military Traffic Management Command Eastern Area in Bayonne, New Jersey, when all of that hardware went over to General Schwarzkopf for the Desert Storm. And my final tour of duty was with the Explosive Ordnance Disposal School in Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. When I enlisted, military service was not something which you spoke openly about because it was during the time of Vietnam. So the fact that we are doing this, ladies and gentlemen, does my heart good because this would not have happened in my high school in 1971 or 1972. So the fact that we have kind of come around as a nation and said we need to honor these young men, and I'm sure if there are going to be young women, we need to honor them when they leave, and we also need to acknowledge when they return. So what can you expect? What can they expect? Thanks. Boot camp or basic training is a process where the military gets you out of thinking about you and thinking about us and working as a cohesive unit. First they break you down, then they build you up. How do they do that? Well, let's see. Waking up at 0 dark 30. That's an actual time too, by the way. I get up at that time lots. Learning to march, shining your shoes, prepping your uniform, learning a whole new culture, learning new terms, chain of command, and the list goes on. All of this will develop your esprit de corps and push you further than you ever thought possible. I know. Been there, done that, have the t-shirt to prove it. When I enlisted in the Navy, I had no idea how to type. The Navy taught me. I had no idea how to operate cryptographic equipment. The Navy taught me. I had no idea how to drive a ship, run a 1,200-pound steam plant, feed 325 men, run a retail operation, run a grocery store, load ships to send stuff to the Persian Gulf. I had no idea. The Navy taught me. I started as an E1. I enlisted and went in as an E1 and left as an 03. There is potential in the military for movement and for leadership. And it's one of the things that they push from day one. As soon as you make E4, particularly in the Marine Corps, you're in charge of all the E3s, 2s, and 1s. Am I correct? So they push leadership very, very much in the military. Colin Powell, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1989 to 1993, in his book, My American Journey, published these 13 points that he felt good leaders should embody. So if you will, point number 1, and I'm going to read them just as he wrote them. There's nothing you can't print in the paper, it's just the grammar's not correct. Don't panic. It ain't as bad as you think, it will look better in the morning. Even if the morning is dark 30, it will look better in the morning. Get mad, then get over it. That's probably one that you really want to embody, and occasionally I forget. Sunday I was playing golf. First hole I took a 10. Second hole I took an 8 because I was still furious about the first hole. I got to the third hole and I went, wait a second, that's not good. I calmed down and played well the rest of the round. So get mad, then get over it. Avoid having your ego so close to your position that when your position falls, your ego goes with it. Number 4 I really like. It can be done. It can be done. I'm in Communications A school. I was typing a blistering 1.5 words a minute when I first went into A school. For those of you that don't have an idea, let me demonstrate. They want me to type 32 words a minute before they'll let me out of the school. So I have homework every night, and I'm sitting there and I'm typing. And I get to the point where I'm typing 28 words a minute at 100% accuracy. And my instructor comes to me and he says, we got to get you faster, so let me watch your technique. So he takes me into the room where these teletypewriters are, and I sit down and he says, okay, start. So I put my book there and I start typing, and I look down at my hands to make sure my hands are on the right keys, and I look back up at the book and I look down at my hands, and he said, stop looking at your hands. It's taking time. Okay. I look down at my hands, right in the back of the head. It was the Gibbs slap. It was the precursor to the NCIS Gibbs slap. It might have been a little harder than that. So I put my eyes back on the book and I start typing again, and I look down. Ow, that hurt. To this day, I do not look at my hands when I type, okay? It can be done. The following week, I was at 32 words a minute at 85% accuracy, and I was done with my typing. Just kind of an aside, rolling that forward 6 months, once I got out in the fleet, I got to 60 words a minute with no mistakes. So it can be done. And ladies and gentlemen, they will push you. Allow them to push you, because you are better than you have even the foggiest notion that you can be. Number 5, be careful what you choose. You may get it. Number 6, don't let adverse facts stand in the way of a good decision. Number 7, you can't make someone else's decisions. You shouldn't let someone else make yours. Number 8, one of my favorites, check small things. In my world, we used to call that attention to detail. I'm going to give you a real quick excerpt from an article about General Powell's book. Early in his military career, Colin Powell was in charge of a platoon of soldiers engaged in parachute training. Days of exhausting exercises plus the usual sleep deprivation, keep that one in mind, left everyone bleary and fuzzy-minded, simulating the fog of war. It was the last jump at the end of a long, hard day. Powell and his men huddled in the aircraft around a fail-safe ring, a cord from which each soldier's parachute had to be attached to the ring so that the chute would open automatically as he departed the aircraft. Like his men, Powell was mentally and physically exhausted, yet he was conscious of his responsibilities as a leader. As the plane ascended for the jump, Powell methodically checked each soldier's safety cord. He found one unattached to the ring. Holding it aloft so the soldier could see it, Powell attached it securely to the ring. The engines and the rush of the air through the open door made too much noise for talk, but after the jump, the soldier thanked Powell profusely for the simple act of diligence that might have saved his life. When Powell attached the safety cord to the ring, it didn't matter whether his hand was black or white. What mattered was the mind behind the hand, its judgment, diligence, and attention to detail. Number 9, share credit. 10, be calm and be kind. 11, have a vision and be demanding. 12, don't take counsel of your fears or naysayers. And 13, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. A colonel whom I worked for in Bayonne, New Jersey, said the military is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. If right now you feel ordinary, that's fine. The military will give you the courage and the motivation to do extraordinary things. I'll leave you with a very traditional Navy saying, fair winds, following seas, Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Warlow. I have a few introductions I'd like to make prior to our closing remarks from Dr. McGee. Many of our staff members here have served in the armed forces and were here either the first part of the presentation or now. I'd like to just recognize them very briefly. Glenn McKee, United States Air Force. Craig Snyder, United States Air Force. James Murray, United States Army. John Shook, United States Army. Mark Petrucci, United States Army. The gentleman you just heard from, Gary Warlow, United States Navy. And Brian Bluette, United States Marine Corps. There's a woman standing in the back that helped put this presentation together and played a huge part in making this so special for the young men up here. Mrs. Jackie Jamela from the main office. We're almost there. Our final speaker today is Dr. Robert McGee, principal of Neshaminy High School.
Thank you, Mr. Maggs. In closing, I also would like to thank some people, and notice all the people that came out to support your choice. Representative Ferry, Mr. Gibbons from Senator Tomlinson's office, American Legion Honor Guard, Staff Sergeants Cook and Pascal. And look at all the parents, and I don't know if you noticed, you saw all the students along the way as well. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our seniors and their parents being honored here today. I don't think you quite realize it yet, but you're about to do something very significant. And I'm going to try to turn it into high school terms. To put it in perspective, a year from now, most Neshaminy High School graduates will be considered college kids, and we will treat them as such. On the other hand, a year from now, after you've signed on the line and taken the oath that Mr. Warlow talked about, you'll be considered men of the United States Armed Forces. You'll be part of a long history of representing our country and protecting liberty and freedom around the world. And I am again reminded of a proverb I used often and earlier today. A community grows strong when people plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. Let me say that again. A community grows strong when people plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. You are not only growing a community, you are growing a nation. The shade of those trees you plant over the next several years will benefit millions of Americans for many years, decades, and centuries to come. From all of us, thank you, God bless you, your families, and God bless America.
'Cause there ain't no doubt.